The movie Shazam never existed. People swear they watched it in the 1990s. Sinbad is a goofy genie helping kids with wishes, floating in clouds of glittery smoke.
Sure took you long enough, Tina. Wait, y'all are not Tina.
Some even claim they rented it from Blockbuster. But here's the twist. There's zero evidence this movie was ever made. No production notes, no posters, no footage, nothing. Sinbad said repeatedly that he never starred in a genie movie, which kind of kills the dream unless he's in on some giant Hollywood cover-up. The real movie that existed was Kazam, with Shaquille O'Neal as a genie popping out of a boombox, not a lamp. That film came out in 1996 and actually does exist, despite how much everyone pretends it didn't. What really stirred the pot, though? A random moment in 1994 when Sinbad wore a genie-ish outfit while hosting a TV movie marathon. That single visual might have hijacked everyone's memory banks. Then someone posted online in 2009 asking about the Sinbad genie movie, and it snowballed. Suddenly, thousands of people were remembering the same thing that never happened. It's honestly one of the weirdest movie-shaped mirages to ever confuse this many brains. The Scarecrow wields a gun. That's not a joke. It's a real scene in the original Wizard of Oz movie, and yet most people remember absolutely none of it. During the haunted forest sequence, while the group nervously sets off to face the Wicked Witch, the Scarecrow is clearly holding a revolver like he's about to audition for a Western. It's not subtle either. He's gripping it like he's ready to use it. Meanwhile, the Tin Man's swinging a wrench and the Cowardly Lion's armed with bug spray and a net, because apparently that's the standard fantasy survival kit. But here's the thing. People who've watched this movie dozens of times over the years have no memory of the gun. It's one of those blink and you miss it details that somehow got filed away in the brain's definitely not real folder. No deleted scenes, no edits. This odd little moment's always been there, hiding in plain sight. It just never matched the soft, innocent image most people remember of the characters. It feels so out of place, like the Scarecrow skipped character development and just jumped straight to firepower. Still, it's there, in all the restored versions, quietly confusing audiences since 1939. By the way, if you guys like movie content like this, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks! Anyways, I am your father. Darth Vader's iconic line was never, "Luke, I am your father."
I am your father.
That version's completely made up, even though it's been shouted, whispered, and butchered in impressions for decades. In The Empire Strikes Back, the real line is, "No.
I am your father."
That's it. No name. Just a cold, matter-of-fact bombshell dropped right after Luke accuses Vader of killing his dad. It's right there in the actual script, the movie audio, and every official release. But somewhere along the line, pop culture gave it a rewrite. Parodies, cartoons, late-night bits, and memes shoved Luke in front, probably because it makes the quote instantly recognizable, especially out of context. So now most people swear it's Luke.
I am your father.
Even though it never was. It's been misquoted so often, the fake line has become more famous than the original, but if you go back and actually watch the movie, there's no Luke in that moment at all. Just the most dramatic twist in cinema history, and the world collectively remembered it wrong. Tom Cruise's risky business outfit didn't include sunglasses. That legendary dance scene where he slides across the floor in his socks to old-time rock and roll has been burned into pop culture. But somehow people keep swearing he was wearing those black Wayfarers while doing it. He wasn't. No shades, no eyewear, nothing covering his very expressive face during that moment. It's just the shirt, tighty whities, and socks. That's it. The sunglasses show up later in the movie and definitely pop up in posters and parodies, which probably scrambled everyone's memory into merging them with the scene. It's weirdly persistent too. Costume recreations, Halloween outfits, and comedy sketches all stick the sunglasses in like they were always part of the look. But in the actual scene, they're just not there. People have rewatched it and still can't believe they ever thought otherwise. It's one of those glitches in the collective brain where the real moment is so specific and clean, but the remembered version just won't go away. Somehow, the poster convinced everyone they saw something that never actually made it into the scene. Hannibal Lecter never says, "Hello, Clarice." That line's been stapled to his face for over 30 years, but in The Silence of the Lambs, it doesn't exist. When Clarice first meets Lecter in the movie, he greets her with a calm, "Good morning." No dramatic pause, no chilling, "Hello, Clarice" moment. The misquote became iconic anyway, probably because it just feels like something you'd say, and pop culture ran with it. Parodies, impressions, and spoofs nailed that line into people's memories, even though it never came out of his mouth in that film. Jim Carrey dropped it in The Cable Guy, and that sealed the deal for a whole generation.
Your Honor, would the court be willing to grant me a short bathroom break?
Even worse, the phrase pops up in the trailer for Hannibal, the 2001 sequel, where Lecter actually says, "Well, hello, Clarice," during a phone call. That just added more fuel to the fire. So now it's everywhere. Halloween costumes, comedy skits, fridge magnets. But if you go back and watch the actual scene, there's no "hello, Clarice" anywhere, just pure psychological tension, minus the line everyone insists they remember. The Evil Queen's iconic line was never "mirror, mirror on the wall." In Disney's original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the Queen steps up to that spooky talking mirror and actually says, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" That's the real line, word for word, sitting there in the script and playing out in the actual movie since 1937. But somehow, nearly everyone remembers it as "mirror, mirror." It's been quoted that way in countless books, cartoons, and commercials, even though it's just flat out wrong. Part of the confusion comes from the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, where the German version does say something closer to "mirror, mirror." That line made its way into other versions over the years and just stuck. It became the go-to phrase anytime someone tried to be dramatically vain in front of a mirror, so when people think of the Disney version, their brains just plug it in automatically. But in the real film, the Queen asks her question with "magic mirror," not "mirror, mirror," and it's been that way the entire time, just another case of memory putting on a costume and pretending it was there all along. C-3PO has a silver leg, not in some obscure remake or background cameo, but right there in the original Star Wars movie. His right leg from the knee down is silver in A New Hope, and it stays that way through Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But somehow,
Easy up. Stupid short circuit.
Wait for me!
most fans remember him being fully gold. They'll argue about it like their childhoods are on the line. The silver leg's real though, confirmed in the films, shown in production stills, and even mentioned by Anthony Daniels himself. The trick is, it's easy to miss. Lighting on set bounced gold all over the place, especially with the desert scenes on Tatooine, so the silver sometimes looked gold anyway. On top of that, the camera barely gave his legs any attention. But the real kicker? The toys. Those chunky Kenner figures came out looking like someone dipped them in a single vat of gold plastic. So kids grew up seeing one version on screen and another in their hands, and the brain just edited out the difference. But that silver leg was always there, quietly defying expectations while everyone swore it never existed. Jaws' iconic line is not "we're gonna need a bigger boat."
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
That version's been tossed around for decades, but in the actual 1975 film, the line spoken by Chief Brody is "you're gonna need a bigger boat."
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
It happens right after he gets a full look at the giant shark for the first time, stumbles backward, and delivers the line to Quint with perfect deadpan horror. It's short, quiet, and completely different from the loud, dramatic version people love to quote. What's even better is that the line wasn't even in the script. Roy Scheider improvised it on set, borrowing a joke that crew members had been muttering every time the production fell apart. Somehow, that ad-lib turned into one of the most legendary lines in movie history. But the world gave it a rewrite. "We're gonna need a bigger boat" started showing up in parodies, interviews, and pretty much every Jaws tribute ever made. It sounds more inclusive, maybe more heroic, but it's not what he said. The actual quote's right there in the movie, unchanged and crystal clear. Still, the wrong version keeps popping up like the shark itself. Unexpected, a little off, but way too persistent. Forrest Gump's iconic line isn't "life is like a box of chocolates." That's the version everyone quotes, prints on mugs, and casually throws into conversation like it's gospel. But in the actual 1994 film, Forrest sits on that bench, opens his mouth, and says, "Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates."
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Not is, was. It's in the movie, the official script, and even the American Film Institute's rankings, but people keep swapping out the past tense, like the quote needed a grammar update. The misquote took off because it sounds more universal and direct, which makes it easier to remember, and definitely easier to slap on merch. But the original line is clearly Forrest repeating what his mom told him, and he says it that way in the movie every single time. Still, the incorrect version is everywhere, like it wiggled its way into people's brains and refused to leave. It's one of those Mandela effects that proves a line doesn't need to be accurate to be unforgettable. It just has to feel right, and that's all it takes for memory to get lazy. Humphrey Bogart never says, "Play it again, Sam." That line's been stuck in the collective brain like gum on a shoe, but it doesn't exist in Casablanca. In the actual 1942 film, the closest thing you'll hear is Ingrid Bergman's character asking, "Play it once, Sam, for old time's sake."
Play it once, Sam, for old time's sake.
And later saying, "Play it, Sam, play as time goes by."
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
Bogart's character Rick doesn't say the famous line either. He tells Sam, "You played it for her, you can play it for me," then just commands, "Play it."
Played it for her, you play it for me.
Well, I don't think I can remember.
If she can stand it, I can. Play it.
The whole "play it again, Sam" thing came from somewhere else entirely. Woody Allen used it for the title of his 1972 play and movie, which referenced Casablanca but definitely rewrote the quote. From there, the line morphed into a pop culture phantom. It's been repeated so often that people just assume it came from the original movie. But if you sit down and actually watch the film, you'll realize no one ever utters those exact words. It's one of those Mandela effects that proves a quote doesn't need to exist to become legendary. Mickey Mouse does not wear suspenders. His classic look, those red shorts with the big yellow buttons, has no straps holding anything up. The buttons are not part of some invisible suspender system. Still, tons of people swear they remember him wearing suspenders, sometimes even picturing him snapping them while whistling like he's about to break into a dance number. But if you look at any official Disney artwork, cartoons, or character models, they all show the same thing. Red shorts, white gloves, yellow shoes, no suspenders in sight. The confusion mostly comes from cartoons where Mickey wears alternate outfits like overalls or work clothes, and those do have straps. Shorts like clock cleaners gave him a totally different wardrobe for the sake of the gag, and those outfits stuck in people's memories. Then everything got blended together in the brain soup of nostalgia. And now people argue about invisible suspenders like they're part of some conspiracy. But if you go back to the source, the actual cartoons, the merch, the posters, he's just rocking the shorts with nothing holding them up but cartoon physics. No straps, no snaps, just imagination doing a little too much over time. Captain Kirk never says, "Beam me up, Scotty," not once.
Scott, prepare to beam us up.
Not in the original series, not in the movies, not even during one of those dramatic transporter escape scenes. The line everyone remembers just doesn't exist in Star Trek canon. What Kirk actually says are variations like "beam us up, Scotty," or "Scotty, beam me up." But the exact phrase with those 5 words in that order, nowhere to be found. Still, people treat it like it's engraved on a plaque in Federation headquarters. It's been printed on t-shirts, quoted in parodies, and turned into a go-to joke for awkward exits. Even James Doohan, who played Scotty, named his autobiography "Beam Me Up, Scotty."
A starship engine the size of a walnut?
Which only added to the confusion. The real kicker is that the show gave us tons of transporter scenes, so the brain just filled in the line it expected to hear. Over time, the fake version became so familiar it replaced the real ones in public memory. It's another Mandela effect where the quote became famous without ever being spoken, which honestly feels like something Star Trek would accidentally invent anyway. Field of Dreams' iconic line isn't "if you build it, they will come." That's the version plastered across posters, commercials, and every pop culture reference for the last 30 years, but in the actual movie, the voice whispers, "If you build it, he will come." Singular. The line's delivered as this eerie, guiding whisper to Ray as he wanders his cornfield, confused and probably one bad decision away from building a haunted playground. The "he" originally points to Shoeless Joe Jackson, but by the end, it's clear it also means Ray's father. The whole thing is about one man finding peace with another, not attracting a ghostly baseball convention. Still, "They Will Come" took over like it was canon. Mostly because later in the film, James Earl Jones gives that dramatic speech about people coming to the field.
People will come, Ray.
And audiences probably blended the 2 moments together. Add years of misquotes and bad merchandising, and suddenly, the entire planet's remembering a line that doesn't exist. The real quote is quiet and personal. Nothing like the big crowd pleaser everyone keeps repeating. But once that false memory gets lodged in the collective brain, facts have no chance. The Gremlins villain's real name is Stripe, not Spike. Stripe's the mischievous little nightmare with the white tuft of fur who leads the chaos in the original 1984 Gremlins film, and his name is clearly listed in the movie, the credits, and every official source tied to the franchise. Still, loads of people insist his name was Spike, like the whole movie was just one big fuzzy blur of incorrect memory. But Spike doesn't show up in that film at all.
He's wired.
The confusion likely comes from how interchangeable gremlin names can sound, and because the sequel introduced Mohawk, another stripe-headed troublemaker, which just threw more fuel on the misremembering fire. On top of that, Stripe's spiky appearance and general rage gremlin energy probably made Spike feel like a natural fit to people's memories. But go back and watch the movie or check the credits, Frank Welker voiced him, and he's Stripe, plain and simple. There's no scene, no line, no merchandise from the original film where Spike gets any credit. E.T. doesn't start by saying E.T. phone home.
E.T. phone home.
That famous line everyone loves to quote actually begins in the film as E.T. home phone. When he first tries to get his message across, his speech is still broken and awkward, and that's the version he blurts out while pointing at the sky like a lost tourist with no roaming plan. It's the kids, Elliot and Gertie, who pick up what he's trying to say and repeat it back correctly as E.T. phone home.
E.T. phone home.
After that, the phrase sticks, and E.T. eventually says it the clearer way too. But that initial moment is where the confusion starts. Most people just skip right past the early clunky version and lock in on the polished line that shows up later in the movie and on every bit of merchandise imaginable. It became the catchphrase, the quote, the cultural shorthand for extraterrestrial homesickness. But in the real film, the first time E.T. says anything close to the line, it's backwards. The original ending of Big never included a scene where Elizabeth Perkins' character wishes to be young and meets Josh in his classroom. That ending doesn't exist anywhere. Still, tons of people remember it like it's burned into the film reel. They'll describe it in detail. Her walking into the classroom as a kid, Josh turning around, the two of them smiling like it's a sandbox love story rebooted. But none of that is in the actual movie. The real ending shows Josh walking home in his oversized clothes back to being a kid, while his mom's probably just inside crying, wondering where the man who kidnapped her child went. There's no closure, no explanation, and definitely no weird kid version of Elizabeth Perkins strolling into an elementary school. It's one of those Mandela effects where the fake ending feels more familiar than the real one, even though there's no footage, no deleted scenes, and no evidence of it ever being filmed. But once you hear it described, your brain suddenly swears it remembers it too, like it just filled in the emotional gap Hollywood never bothered to close. Shaggy does not have an Adam's apple. Despite what your memory might be insisting right now, the original Scooby-Doo cartoons never gave him a big, bobbing throat lump that wobbled every time he panicked or shoved an entire sandwich into his face. The classic Hanna-Barbera animation shows Shaggy with a smooth neck, no visible Adam's apple in sight. Sure, there are a few quick gulps where his throat moves in that exaggerated cartoon way, but that's just animation shorthand, not a permanent feature. Still, loads of fans swear they remember it clearly, like it was a key part of his whole nervous, gangly vibe. It's not. Go check the old episodes, the archived animation cells, or any official stills. There's no consistent Adam's apple on him. Some modern reboots might toss in a little neck detail here or there, but the original design kept it clean. Bane is not seen knitting throughout The Dark Knight Rises, despite what some people claim. There's no ongoing scene where Tom Hardy's masked villain sits quietly, with needles and yarn, like he's making a scarf between acts of terrorism. The actual film shows him briefly handling paracord in a few shots, most notably during the kangaroo court scenes, where he's twisting and looping it in a way that kind of resembles finger knitting if you squint. But it's not knitting, and it's not constant. The whole thing was a subtle nod by Christopher Nolan to A Tale of Two Cities where Madame Defarge knits beside executions, calmly recording doom while chaos unfolds. Bane's paracord moment plays on that image, but it's quick and background level. No close-ups, no basket of yarn, no peaceful knitting montages in the League of Shadows hideout. Still, the internet took those couple of rope-twisting shots and ran with them, turning it into a full-blown Mandela effect where people now remember Bane as the world's most intimidating knitter. But in the real movie, it's more symbolic gesture than actual crafting session. Pumba is spelled with 2 A's. That second A isn't decorative, it's part of his actual name in every official Disney source, credit roll, and piece of merchandise tied to the Lion King. Still, tons of people swear it was just Pumba, like the extra vowel somehow snuck snuck in after the fact. But nope, it's always been there. The AA version lines up with the Swahili word Pumba, which means to be foolish or careless, which, let's be honest, describes him pretty well. Every time you see his name in the movie credits, subtitles, toys, or books, it's got both A's. The 1A memory probably comes from how people hear the name out loud. When Timon yells it across the savannah, no one's enunciating like a spelling bee champion. But when you check the actual factual materials, the second A is there, holding the line. Luke's line in A New Hope never mentions a trash compactor. That's the version fans love to yell during dramatic retellings, but it's not what he actually says in the movie. The real line, as shouted by a very panicked Luke while being nearly flattened, is, "Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level." That's right, garbage mashers. It's weird, clunky, and sounds like something a sleep-deprived engineer made up at the last minute, but it's the actual dialogue in the film. Still, trash compactor just feels more natural, especially when you're watching the walls close in with a giant metal crunch, so that's the phrase that's stuck in everyone's heads. Even Star Wars merch and lore materials have leaned into trash compactor, reinforcing the incorrect version. But the script, subtitles, and official quotes all back up the original, it's garbage mashers. It's another classic Mandela effect where the brain smooths out a weird term into something more logical, and then acts offended when the original quote doesn't match the rewrite it invented. If you enjoyed this, I post movie content a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.